So one of the big mistakes I see out on the golf course is club selection. I've got 4 scenarios I'm going to share with you here. I've hit 4 different drives and I've ended up in 4 different places. But what I saw from one of my students recently when we went out on the golf course was that he used the same club in each scenario, and it's just not going to work. You're going to make loads of mistakes and waste loads of shots at that. So let's take a look at the first scenario, and all these scenarios, by the way, are in the rough. Scenario 1, I've hit a pretty nice drive, and with the fairway sloping from right to left, I've found myself here where it's just sat pretty nicely. If we take a look at it here, we would almost argue it's almost better than sat on the fairway because it's teed up ever so slightly. So for me now on this par 5 where I've got 260 yards to go, this would be a place where I could use my fairway wood. What I'd want to see from here is that when I apply the club to the back of the ball there's not loads of grass in between the club and the ball. We can see that it almost looks as if like it's sat up on a little bit of a tee peg there. So as I come to hit this, it's not going to get snagged in too much rough. So this would be the perfect scenario for us to maybe use our fairway wood, maybe use the rescue club, but it wouldn't be one where I would worry too much about the contact because I can get the club onto the back of the ball. So first things first, if we've got pretty much fairway-like lie in the semi and it's teed up, that is the green light. We want to go for it. We can actually use the fairway wood here. And that is absolutely beautiful. Felt so comfortable over that because it was just popped up, and it's a great time for us to use our fairway woods. The problem there then lies if we move on to ball number 2. What I found from this student was that as we move down more into the rough here, and as we can see it's almost above the top of my shoe as we're getting to this point, we find ourselves at ball 2 here. If we take a look at the ball now, what we'll notice is there's actually quite a bit of grass around that golf ball. It's not too heavy, but it's getting to a point where with a fairway wood, it's probably not going to be too easy to hit out of. So then what I would start to do is work in to probably more of my rescue club here. So when I pop this in behind it, the rescue club, a very versatile club, a little bit like an iron, a little bit like a wood. It's got a slightly deeper face, so I'm able to trap the ball a little bit more. And with a lot more weight at the sole of the club here, this is one that's going to cut through the rough a little bit more, a bit like an iron as where my fairway wood might get a little bit snagged. So in this instance, when the rough starts to get a little bit above the ball, and we're seeing that we can't quite see all the back of the golf ball, it's not that lie where we want to take one of our fairway woods. We'll probably maybe go to a 4-5 iron, or if we've got a hybrid, we want to start working those. With it being a little bit snaggy the lie, I'm just going to place it back ever so slightly in my stance. So I'm going to play it where it was with my fairway wood, where it was 1 inch outside my lead heel, and now I'm going to play it about 1.5 inches behind my lead heel. Again, make a committed swing and just feel I'm getting into the back of the ball a little bit. And with this nice lie, dig it out a little bit more. But again, ball goes flying out and I've not lost any of my distance. If I tried using my fairway wood there, it would have got snagged up and I would see that it gets tangled and the ball would flop out from here. So when it's getting a little bit heavier, we probably want to move into our hybrids. Now, if we just go literally 3 paces down here, we find ball number 3. And as we can see there, even as I put the club into the golf ball, it's even disappearing. You can almost not see the club from the grass there because it's up above it in this position. So if I were to try and get this out with my hybrid, it's really going to start to snag in this long grass. So even though I've got 260 yards to go, it's not one now where I'm going to be trying to hit the green. What I will have to do is take my medicine and understand that I'm probably going to have to hit this green in 3. So with rough like this, what we want to try and do is almost chop it out a little bit more. So we put away the hybrid, and from here we're probably going to want to take a 7 iron. Reason for that being, got a little bit more of a leading edge, and we've got some loft on there, so we're still going to get it up out of the rough. With those flat face clubs like your Rescue, like your Fairway, if they come in and a load of grass gets trapped in between there, you'll probably see that one that just goes scuttling along the ground or comes out with pace and grabs the rough and doesn't go anywhere. So what we want to try and see here, if we come in close now, we're not going to play it like our normal 7-iron where we'd have the ball just slightly in front of a centre. We're going to place it a little bit more to centre, if anything slightly back. The reason for that is I'm trying to chop down on the rough. I'm trying to take a bit of the rough there. As we can see in my practice swing, that leading edge has dug the rough out and we can see the divot starting in line with the golf ball. So I've gone ball slightly back in my stance. I've also lent a little bit more weight into my lead foot to help me chop down on it. We need to make sure as we're doing this as well that we use our wrists, because we need some leverage to actually create angles to hit down on the golf ball. So as we see here from this one, I know I'm only going to hit it about 150 yards. I can't get it out of the rough and get up near the green. I'm going to put it just slightly back of centre, a little bit more weight in my lead side, use my hinging, and then from there I should see that I'm able to chop this ball out. So there, come out lovely, but I could really feel the grass in between the ball and the club at impact, but it's safely up there. I've got 150 yards to go now. If I were to use that Rescue or the Fairway wood, I'd probably have 250 because I'd probably only advance it about 10 yards. And this is the one, ball number 4, where I saw the problems. I actually witnessed, and I bet we've all done it, we get into the rough here. I've put the cones out here for a reason, for me to help me find the golf balls, because some of the lies were that bad when we chose these lies. But here now, from there you can't really see the ball until we come in really close. And as I put that club in there, we can see it's absolutely horrible. But what I witnessed one of my lessons do was go, well, I'm 250 away, I've got to get it as close as I can up to the green, so let's go for the hybrid. And as soon as he hit it, the club tangled up and the ball didn't even move. It was just straight back into this wispy stuff. If we've got that far off track here, where we find ourselves in stuff that, like down here, is pretty much knee height for me, and I wouldn't be able to drop my keys in here and see them. I want to be able to get the ball out. I've got to succumb to the fact that I'm off the track. I shouldn't be here. I've got to get back out in play as quickly as possible. So what I'm going to do here, I'm not going to go for my hybrid. Get that one away there. I'm not going to go for my 7-iron, because even that isn't enough loft to get me out of that situation. We're going to go down to, for me, I'm going to go lob wedge, because that lie is absolutely horrible. Depending on how much rough is there and how thick and juicy it looks, we're going to choose a lofted club, and all we're going to try and do is just put it back onto the fairway. So for us, if we see from this angle here, my fairway is literally 15 yards here from me. I'm not going to go down the fairway, because if I don't quite get this and the club flips, I'm going to be back towards more rough. So my main aim of this shot is to get out of this horrible, nasty rough. To do that, we're going to go down the grip. We're going to make the implement a little bit shorter so we're able to hit down on it. We're going to grip it tighter, because when we get into this rough, it's going to grab the club and flip the club face. We're going to lean 70% of our weight into our lead side and have the ball middle to slightly back. And again, I'm making this chopping motion down into the rough and just forcing it back into play. Like I say, I've got to take my medicine, and I've got to make sure I'm not making a big mistake and putting it back into a worse place. So we get the club in behind the ball, we go down the grip, lean into our lead side, a good aggressive swing, chopping down into it. And as we can see there, even with a great strike, that would normally go 90 yards and it's flown 30 for me. So it really saps all the energy out of the ball and the club contact. So, simple way to save shots, guys, by stop making silly mistakes when we get into the rough. Don't try and correct the mistake you've made off the tee by trying to force it too far out and use a club that isn't appropriate for the situation. Get one, get back into play, have a look at the lie. Can you get a fairway wood on it? If not, go down your clubs, get it back in play, and then reset yourself from there. Stop using clubs, little lofted clubs woods in rough like this. This is horrible stuff. Get out as quickly and easily as possible, get back in play, and you'll see your scores start to drop. Guys, I hope you've enjoyed this lesson this week. Like I say, it was one that I saw from my lessons out on the golf course, and one, you know, we all find ourselves in the rough, so if we can make less mistakes, scores are better. If you did enjoy it, do hit the subscribe button down below, turn on the bell notification. I'll see you in the next lesson.